All right, I'm sure we'll have more people come in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. Mr. Magana and Ms. Reagan, do you want to do one more announcement about the interpretation option in Spanish?
Buenas noches a todos, gracias por acompañarnos. Soy la señora Reagan, estamos con el resto del equipo administrativo y personal de la escuela Dr. Manuel M. López Academy of Arts and Sciences. Les agradecemos que estén aquí. En un momento vamos a empezar. Si acaban de integrar y les gustaría que recibieran interpretación en español, abajo en su pantalla hay aparece un globo, un mundo, y dice interpretación. Por favor, de oprimir allí y seleccionar español, y la señorita Cerrato va a estar traduciéndoles a español. Nuevamente es un círculo que dice interpretación, está para mí está en la barra de abajo, pero si ustedes están usando un teléfono o una tableta, lo pueden encontrar tal vez arriba o al lado, interpretación, y escojan español.
All right, thank you, Ms. Reagan. So we're gonna get started. For those of you I don't know, my name is Scott Carroll. I'm principal at Lopez Academy. We're joined tonight by Mr. Magana and Ms. Reagan, our assistant principals, and Ms. Sarata, who is our outreach specialist and our translator for tonight. So thank you for being here. Our goal is to share a lot of information with you tonight. Along the way, if you have questions, you can ask them in English or in Spanish using the Q&A option. At the end of this, when we're all finished with our presentation, we will stick around and answer any questions that you have. Because this is a webinar, you will not be able to communicate directly with us via voice. You will need to use the Q&A option to ask your questions. So thank you for being here, and we're going to get started now. And Ms. Sarato, let me know anytime you need me to slow down. All right. So we're going to have a few topics we're going to talk about tonight. One is we're going to give an overview of our new schedules. So whether your student is scheduled to be a blended or an in-person student starting next week, or your student is going to stay in distance like they have been all year, either way, their schedule is going to change starting next week. So we're going to talk about that. Also, your students will hear all about that in their 4th period class tomorrow as well. We're also going to talk about our physically returning to campus, the procedures that we put in place. So how students will enter our campus, what they're allowed to do when they're on campus, as well as the procedures we've set up so that our students can be safe while they are on campus. Also, you see this webinar we had a student webinar yesterday. We had over 300 students join us. We will be, after this, we'll be sharing that video with students so they can catch up if they missed that one. We will send that out. The recording of this webinar will be posted on our webpage as well. So if any parents missed tonight, or if you want to watch it again because you missed something, it will be on our website probably by tomorrow.
Mr. Carroll, if I can just interrupt for a second, there's parents saying that they cannot hear in Spanish. So if I can just remind, if you need translation, to click interpretation, and you won't hear us speak, but you'll hear Ms. Cerrato in Spanish. Señores, alguien está indicando que no puede escuchar. Si ustedes eligieron interpretación, no van a mirar que nosotros estamos hablando, pero no van a escucharnos hablar a nosotros, van a escuchar solamente a la señorita Cerrato, quien está traduciendo.
All right, thank you, Ms. Reagan. So I'm going to go over some of the important dates that are coming up. We have lots of stuff coming up in the next week or so. It's going to be a very busy time of the year. We're excited to have our kids back. So April 19th, that's next Monday. So Monday, April 19th, all students on our campus, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, as well as distance and blended learners, will all be starting their new schedule starting Monday. So we're going to talk about those schedules in a minute. Also, our 6th grade only students, our 6th grade students that are blended learners, they're in-person learners. They'll actually start here on campus with us Monday. So they'll need to be here between 8:30 and 8:45, and that the school day will run from 8:45 until 11:10. But we'll talk more about that with the schedules. But know that 6th grade in-person students start back to campus on Monday, April 19th. On April 21st, students will start their first Wednesday check-ins. So one thing that's going to change on our Wednesdays is, students don't come to school and haven't been Zooming with their teachers. All students now will have a 15-minute class with each one of their teachers, a Zoom with every one of their 6 teachers on Wednesday. We've already talked to the students about this, and they'll get a reminder again in their class tomorrow. but it is going to be important that they come every single Wednesday. It's going to be between 9 and 10:30. And that's how students will get attendance for Wednesday. So that's a new procedure that's starting next Wednesday. The last important date I want to share is April 22nd. That's next Thursday. So a week from today, that is when our 7th and 8th graded blended learners, so our 7th and 8th grade students that are returning to campus for their classes, that's the first day that they will be on campus. So they should not come to school before then. If 7th or 8th graders show up on the 19th, we will have to send them home because that's not their time to start. So 7th and 8th graders start April 22nd. The first Monday and Tuesday next week, our 7th and 8th graders will still be on Zoom with their teachers. All right, so now we're going to talk about the blended learning schedule, and we're going to turn over to Miss Reagan.
Perfect, thank you. So parents, as you know, as of the 19th, all of our students are going to have a different schedule. So for our students that are scheduled to come in person, what we are calling blended learning schedule, this is what their schedule is going to be looking like. So you can, we have mailed a copy of this to your home. You can also access it in our school website and our district website, or if you need a copy, you can contact us at the office and we will make sure that you get a copy. But we want you to pay attention to the times. Those students that will be coming in person, they can come to our campus no earlier than 8:25, as we that's the time that we will be opening the gates at 8:25. At 8:30, we will allow the students to come in. 8:30 to 8:45, they will immediately go to their classes, where once they go through the screening and go to their classes, they will pick up breakfast inside their classrooms and have breakfast there. Instructional time will be from 8:45 to 9:30 for period 1, 9:35 to 10:20 for period 2, 10:25 to 11:10 period 3, and they will have a short period in between to get from one class to the next. And as you can see, our students for in-person learning are scheduled to come Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday from 8:45 to 11:10 is their instructional time. And you know what, I'm going to go back and touch a little bit about the Wednesdays. I don't know if it's coming up again, but I wanted to point out that Wednesdays will continue to be a distance learning Wednesday. However, there's a very important change. Right now in our current schedule, we're not asking our students to Zoom live with their students on Wednesdays. They just have to complete work. They will still complete work from home virtually. However, we are asking that they do a quick check-in with each one of their teachers. And you can see the times there, and their teachers will inform them of exact times to log in with them. At 11:10, during our dismissal time, students will be escorted to the front of the school, where on their way out, they will receive a grab and go lunch to take with them. They are not eating that lunch on our campus, but they will take that bag with a lunch for them to eat either on their way out or they can eat it at home. Once they get home, that doesn't mean that their day is over. Their instructional day continues. However, their learning will be during asynchronous time. What this means is that between the time of 1 to 2:45, they will have the time to work on their assignments independently, as well as using their academic apps on their iPad, such as Power Up, Lexia, ST Math, Mayan, and Reading. And you'll notice that from 11:10 to 1 o'clock, there is a transition time to allow students to get home and have a lunch before they continue working on their assignments independently at home.
Thank you, Mrs. Reagan. Mrs. Reagan reviewed the blended learning schedules. So now I'm going to take a minute to review the distance learning schedules. So we've been on distance learning the entire year. And now that students do have the option of returning, we do still continue with distance learning for those students that, for those families that chose distance learning for the rest of the year. So we're just gonna review pretty much everything that's in person. It's flipped. So I will take a minute to just review that with you guys right now. So in the morning, this is for distance learning students. In the morning, they will be assigned by their teachers asynchronous work. This is consisting of Lexia, ST Math, Mayan, and AR. along with other work that could be posted on Canvas. In the afternoon, this is when their Zoom sessions will take place. One of the things I do want to highlight is that the Zoom classes will be longer. Each class right now is doing at least 30 minutes. However, the expectation is to do at least 40 minutes every day with every period, except for Wednesdays, which I know Ms. Reagan reviewed the Wednesday schedule for both in-person students and distance learning. So on Mondays and Thursdays, students will be Zooming with their first, second, and third period classes. This is gonna be in, the first period is gonna be from 12:30 to 1:10. Then there's gonna be a 5-minute break. We're gonna move on from 1:15 to 1:55 for second period. And then from 2 to 2:40 for period number 3. This is gonna repeat on Monday and Thursday for those periods. On Tuesday and Friday, students are going to Zoom with their teachers during the same times, but this is going to be for periods 4, 5, and 6. There are a number of students that do have ELD. So students that are in distance learning, they will be having ELD classes with their ELD teacher as well. And they should be informed by tomorrow of their period, their time, their Zoom information if it changed. All this information will be provided to our ELD students. ELD students, for students who are distance learning, this will be in the afternoon from 2:40 to 3:20 every day, 2 days a week. Oh, sorry, that is for blended students, because again, they are in school in the morning, so in the afternoon, they're doing their ELD class. Students who are in distance learning will have their ELD class in the morning. And again, everything will be shared by tomorrow, all this information to our ELD students. Thank you.
You're muted, Mr. Carroll.
Sorry about that. So thank you. We're going to jump in now and talk about some of the procedures that students will need to follow from the time they enter campus all the way through the school day. So we want to share a few of those with you, especially how students will be entering campus. So this is a picture of the front of our campus. It's not really painted yellow like that. I just put that there to show you. If you notice, the sidewalk next to the street is not yellow. So the sidewalk is the area that parents will need to stay. Only staff and students are allowed to leave the sidewalk area and come onto school grounds. So parents, if you are walking your student in, you need to make sure you say bye at the sidewalk. We are trying to make sure we have plenty of room for our students to spread out as they wait to come on campus and go through the gates. So it's not going to really look yellow like this, but we just put that there so you can see what it looks like. We'll also be out there on Monday and Thursday and probably every day helping out and answering any questions that you have. So students are going to have different gates. You'll see that in a second. So we'll have a 6th grade gate, a 7th grade gate, and an 8th grade gate. As students come through the gates, we're not going to be taking temperatures, but we are going to be doing a visual screening and asking the students some questions. Things like, how are you feeling? Do you have a fever? Is anyone in your family? Questions like that could be asked to students. We'll also be visually looking at them to make sure that they look like they're healthy to come in. If a student does have any concern, we will not have them enter campus. We will have them, we'll have our health tech work with them and see if they really are showing symptoms of being ill, and in that case, they would need to go home. We want to remind you once again, only students can approach the gate. So these are the gates you can see here. Parents should not be in these gates. Parents need to stay on the sidewalk. Once again, we want to make sure that we have plenty of room for our students to spread out as they wait in line. One important thing, once students go through the gates, so they'll go through the gates, they will talk to a campus supervisor, maybe a counselor, administrator as they come through. Once they come through that gate, they need to go directly to their first class. There's no chance for them. They can't hang around and talk. They can't go into our quad. They need to go directly to their first period class. Their breakfast is going to be waiting for them, but we can't have any students that are hanging around and talking. Once again, they need to go directly to their first class of the day. All right, I talked a moment ago about the gates. This is a picture of the front of our school. So in years past, if you've had students here, in years past, all of our students enter campus through this one middle gate here. We want to make sure that we keep our students spread out as much as possible in distance. So you can see we now have 3 different gates for the rest of this year. So the gate on the left side, closest to the cafeteria, is our 6th grade gate. So Monday, when our 6th graders are returning, they will all go through this gate. They'll all be screened at this gate, and that will continue every single day for the balance of the year. 7th graders will go through the middle gate, and 8th graders will go through the gate on the right-hand side that's closest to the office. We will have signs out, we'll be reminding them, but it is a routine that they will do every single day they come on campus. It is very important. We will be checking their names, and if they are at the wrong gate, they'll have to go back to the end of the line at the gate they're supposed to be in. So please encourage them to use the right gate. It'll save them time. But once again, we're doing this because we want to make sure students are spread out and adequately social distanced throughout their time on campus. All right. As you probably know, if you've been to our school before, Hill Street gets busy in the mornings. It gets very busy with cars, probably not quite as much now because we have fewer students, but it will still be busy. We also have some buses that are going to be coming. We want to remind you that the front of our school, all the way across the front by the gates, is red. It's a red zone, meaning that no one can park there. The only people that can park there are buses. So please make sure you don't park there. We have been told that Oxnard PD will be out at all of our campuses. We do not want anyone to get a ticket. So it's not okay even to stop even for 10 seconds to drop your student off. You need to drop them off in an area that's not red. You can also drop them off across the street. We will have a crossing guard that will help the students cross the street if need be also, but we don't want anyone to get a ticket. Speaking of transportation, I want to make sure that everyone knows the only students that are being provided transportation are our students, our special education students who have it within their IEP or individual education plan. Our regular buses for students who don't live in our neighborhood are not going to be running. There is no transportation with the exception of a few special education students. So if you're not sure if that pertains to your student, you can call us, but know that there is no transportation for students with the exception of a few special education students. All right. So once students are on campus, they've gone through the gate, they've been screened, and now they're going to their first period classes. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So first of all, a reminder, I think Mr. Magani said it earlier, Ms. Reagan, our campus will not open until 8:25, no matter how many kids are out there. Please do not drop your children off early. Do not encourage them to come to school early. Like I said, we have nowhere on our campus. We don't want students gathering and talking. So our gates will not open until 8:25. It's very important to know. Like we said, once students come through that gate, they are required to go directly to their first period class. There's nowhere else to go. They need to go directly to their first class. Once they get to that class, they'll be, depending upon what time they get to campus, they will have time to eat a breakfast. The breakfast will be offered at no cost for all students. The breakfast will have a drink, a small water, some kind of fruit, and a muffin or a bar every single day. Students are not required to have this breakfast, but we do offer it every day, and we'll encourage our students to eat it. It is a very healthy breakfast, and it's important that they do if you want them to eat. So it will be optional, but we encourage students to do it. They will have time in their first period class to finish their breakfast. They won't have the whole time. They will need to eat pretty quickly. If students do not want to eat at that time, they are allowed to take the food and put it in their backpack to eat later. So they can either eat it right when they get to class, or they can put it in their backpack and they can eat it later in the school day or after school even. Like I said, at 8:30, all of our classrooms on our campus will be open. So students can walk directly in the classroom and sit down at their assigned seat. So at 8:30, all classrooms will be open. All right, I'm gonna turn it over now to Ms. Reagan.
Thank you. So once our students are on our campus, especially for those students that are returning 7th and 8th graders, there are a couple of different procedures due to this pandemic that we're living in. So some of the things that we want to highlight is that the student restrooms will be closed before school, during passing periods, and after school. This is something different than a normal year. And the reason for that is that we don't want students congregating in large groups. So we want to really be strategic and monitor how many students are in the restroom at the time. Don't be alarmed. We will allow them to use the restroom. Once students are in class, students will have an opportunity, if they need to go to the restroom. A pass will be given to them by their teachers, and we will have campus supervisors ensuring that there's only a certain amount of students in each restroom, no more than 3, to ensure that everybody is safe. Students will be walked making sure, students, once they are using the restrooms and navigating our campus supervisors are making sure that they return back to class safety. At the end of the day, something different also is that students will be walked to the front of the school, to the same gates where they entered in the morning by their teachers. In years past, students can, once the bell rings, are freely to go on their own, but to ensure that we are immediately exiting the schools, again, teachers will be dismissing the students by walking them out directly to the front gates. And they will be entering and exiting the same gate that they come by grade level. As they are walking out at the end of the day, our cafeteria will have 3 different stations, one at each gate, where they will be receiving a grab and go lunch available to them. Again, they do not have to take it if they don't want to, but we will have one available for each one of the students. It'll be something in a little bag that they can take with them, and they can eat at home once they get home. Don't forget, students will have asynchronous time once they get home. They do have a passing period to allow them, to get home safely and to have their lunch, and then they will have work independently, assignments for their classes, as well as those academic apps. We want to show you a map of our campus, and the reason we want to do this is in order to keep our students safe and allow for a better flow of students walking through the different hallways on our campus. Once our students are on campus, they're going to see these same arrows, these yellow and blue arrows are actually painted on our ground, on our floors, on our hallways, so that they will direct the students which way they can go through. Some of our hallways will only have one of the arrows, either a yellow or a blue, showing which direction students are allowed to walk through. Others, as you can see, have a yellow and a blue arrow. Those are wider hallways that allow us to have both students coming, they have to stay on the blue section to go one way and on the yellow section to go the other way. So we want to make sure that we highlight those areas for you. And we will guide.
If you want to mention real quick, sorry.
Yes.
For students, especially for our 6th graders that are new to our campus, when they walk through the gates, either Monday or Thursday for the first time this year, we will have, even though they should be used to them, we will have copies of their schedules, just so they know which classroom numbers. So they know their teacher, but they don't necessarily know what the classroom is. So we will have schedules to give to the students as they enter campus for students that are coming back. Sorry.
And on the back of that schedule, we have printed actually a map for the students. We are going to blow this map as well in larger posters to have them accessible for our students as well. We understand that our 6th graders are new to our campus, so all of our staff will be in the morning able to guide them through to make sure that they get to their safe direction, safe spot or to the correct spot. Ms. Ramirez, our school counselor who has joined us, and Ms. Morales, who's interning with Ms. Ramirez, they are both here present with us, have been working also on some videos to provide to our 6th graders to make sure that they get familiar with, no pressure, Ms. Ramirez and Ms. Morales, to make sure that the students know exactly, where their classes are. And then for those parents that do have 6th graders, if you notice, this next slide is very similar to the previous one, but you'll see some circles with the 6 in it. All of these are 6th grade classrooms, and they are strategically placed, kind of grouped together so that it's an easier transition for our 6th graders. Coming from smaller schools, our middle school is a bit larger than what they're used to. So this way, all of their classes are relatively close to each other. So any room number with a 6 is one of the 6th grade classrooms. So it's very much likely that one of your students will have many of these classes. And again, we will be there with their schedule, which will have a map with room numbers on the back of their schedule, and we will be there to support them every step of the way. Something different for those of you that have already been on our campus before is, again, these yellow arrows along our hallways, and we wanted to show you exactly where they are. And this is, again, to help the flow of students, to make sure that we're not all clumping together in the hallways and to try to make it easier and safer for all of us. You'll also notice that outside of our classrooms, we have some white dots, social distance markers, so that if by chance they get there before the teacher has opened the door, they are indicating for the student, markers to indicate where the students are going to stand in a socially distanced manner to keep them safe. Again, as soon as the students come in the morning, our expectation is that they're going directly to their classrooms and that our teachers will be waiting for them with the door open so that they can immediately come inside the classroom. Again, for the use of the restrooms, like we said before, will be closed before school, during passing periods, and after school. And your students will be able to use the restrooms while they're, once they've checked in with their teachers, and if they need to go to the restroom, they'll get a pass. However, we're limiting to only 3 students or less in the restroom. We do have 2 sets of student restrooms, 2 for boys, 2 for girls, and we will have campus supervisors at every station of the restroom to make sure that everybody is safe. Something else that is different on our campus is the no-touch water dispensers. If you can see, there's a smaller spout and a gray canister for students to put their bottle in there. These are what we had before. Those will no longer be activated. What will be activated is the center spout that Mr. Carroll's circling. And this is something new to ensure that all students are safe. What the students are going to do is they're going to place their water bottle right underneath it, which will push that blue lever that you can see there and automatically fill their water bottle. So this is something new to ensure that our students are safe. A new filter has been installed as well in our water fountains to ensure that our water is filtered and safer for our students to use.
Before we continue, I want to a couple things here, and then hopefully we can translate into Spanish too. I see a couple hands raised. Please put any questions in the Q&A. We're not able to respond. We can't hear you. So please put any questions in the Q&A section or in the chat and we'll answer them. Also, if you are not hearing, that's because you haven't selected either the English or the Spanish at the bottom. So please look for the globe and select the appropriate language for you.
I'll translate that in case there's someone else that's here. Antes de continuar, queremos decir que estamos mirando en los comentarios que algunas personas no nos pueden escuchar. Si no nos pueden escuchar muy bien, es que no han seleccionado el idioma. En el mundo que está abajo es un círculo que dice interpretación. Si ustedes quieren español, oprímanle allí y escojan español. Hay algunos mensajes que dicen que no pueden escuchar muy bien el español. Si al final de la junta aún tienen preguntas, vamos a grabar esta sesión y podemos responder cualquier pregunta que ustedes tengan.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was going to start in Spanish. And so as we have reviewed already, there is a big change to our Wednesday check-ins, which we all believe it's an improvement. Again, we are structuring our Wednesday check-ins more, where every student's checking in with every period through Zoom. The students will not be on site on Wednesdays. Everything's going to be through Zooms, even for both the students that are in person and also who are doing distance learning. So period 1, it starts at 9 a.m. Then period 2 at 9:15, period 3 at 9:30, period 4 at 9:45, period 5 at 10, and period 6 at 10:15. And again, these are quick check-ins with every period. Students are going to check in with all teachers that day. Teachers are going to answer any questions. They're going to review assignments, deadlines, grades. I mean, anything that the students really need. They're also going to review any assignments that are going to be assigned to them that day of. As you recall, we are taking attendance and we're also wanting our students to complete their work, their asynchronous work. This counts as both their attendance and their engagement credit. Upcoming webinars. We had one yesterday. We were very happy. We had close to 300 students. We were very impressed. The students asked very good questions. It was a very powerful webinar where students were able to ask questions. I think some of the questions that came up the most were about bicycles and skateboards and scooters. And I hope we were able to clarify for our students that. We also clarified for our students about PE. Students will not be dressing out. However, they will be doing PE, and PE classes will be in the playground in the field. Today, again, we are having this webinar for parents. We are also very excited that we have close to 50 attendees. And we do thank you for being here with us today. And hopefully this is very informative and it gives everybody an opportunity to learn a little bit more about our, the things that will be coming to Lopez next week. If you wish to contact us, again, our school benefits of three principals. We have Mr. Carroll as our principal. His email is in this screen. Also, Mrs. Reagan, she's the full-time assistant principal. You'll see me sometimes and sometimes you won't see me. I am assistant principal for both Lopez and Fremont, but I try to be as involved with Lopez as much as I can. So again, please reach out to me for anything as well. We have, again, three wonderful counselors. Ms. Ramirez, she is our counselor for students whose last names are M through Z. Ms. Garcia Napoles for A through L. And we do have our intern counselor, Ms. Brisette Morales. She's here with us. And again, you will see us around campus. You will see us, anything you need, we're here to support. And we also have our amazing ORC, Ms. Elba Cerrato. She helps us with resources and anything that families or parents need. Again, she's the contact to the community.
All right, thank you. So in a moment, we're going to be finishing up, but we do want to let you know that if you can stick around and we are going to answer all questions, you can put them in the chat or in Q&A. So just know we're going to wrap up in a second, but we are going to stay around to answer any questions that you might have or anything that you want more information about. I do want to just point to you to a couple other resources. Some parents have called us and asked us, what's the district plan for COVID or for safety? I want to point you to three different locations where you can get more information. The first one is our Lopez Academy website. The easiest way to get to it is to go to Google and type in Lopez Academy Oxnard. It'll be the first one that comes up. We have a whole bunch of information, student schedules, reopening information, all of our contact information, a whole bunch of stuff on there. So please, if you need information and you can't call us at that moment or email, usually you can find most of it on our website. The second two are resources for the Oxnard School District website, which is oxnardsd.org. You can find information on there if you go to the risk management page. So you go to departments, risk management. There's a whole bunch of information about COVID safety measures the district is taking district-wide as well as at the school sites in there. You can find a lot of information at any of those sites. We also want to remind you, and like I said, we will stick around to answer questions, so feel free to stick around afterwards. We want to remind you that we send a lot of information home via email, via phone call, via chat, but also a great way to know what's going on with us is to follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We are in all three of those. We also put lots of videos on our YouTube channel, our weekly videos. This one will be on the YouTube channel probably by tomorrow, so you can get lots of information there. We send a lot of stuff out, but you'll get even more information and be up to date if you are following us on social media as well. So I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. Like I said, we are going to stick around and answer any more questions you have. You can either put them in the chat and we'll answer them aloud, or you can put them in the Q&A, either one. We want to make sure that you leave with any questions. If you missed the first part of this, like I said, we'll be posting this whole webinar on our school website by tomorrow, as well as our YouTube channel. I'm going to go through, I saw a couple of questions in here. So if we're done with our formal presentation, but you're free to stick around or leave at this time.
And it might be a good idea, Mr. Carroll, if there was a lot of Spanish participants that couldn't hear correctly. Okay. Maybe if they stick around, I'll say it in Spanish, we can kind of quickly review it in Spanish.
We'll go over any questions from this point on. We'll do English and Spanish all in the same thing, but I need to end the interpretation for that. So give me 1 second.
Para todos.
All right, there we go.
Para todas las personas que tenían problemas escuchando la interpretación o el audio no les estaba sirviendo, ya que terminamos presentación formal. Si gustan y si hay preguntas, podemos dar la información nuevamente breve en español o responder a cualquier pregunta que tengan.
All right, so I'm going to go through a few of the questions here. One is, a parent is asking, can we still switch from distance to in-person learning? At this moment, we do have time and we do have space in all of our cohorts. We do need you to either call the school or stop by the school in person. We just want to make sure that the request is from a parent, but we can still do those. If you want to be able to start next week, though, we do need to do that by tomorrow at the latest.
You're muted, Mr. Carroll.
Sorry, did you guys hear me the whole time, or I was muted? Yeah, so can someone translate that for Spanish as well? Just that we can still change, but that the request needs to come in probably by tomorrow because we're finalizing by tomorrow.
And Ms. Serrata's still translating. I don't know if we're still using that service or not. Because we can't hear her when she speaks. But
We need to translate. I'm going to go ahead and translate, Mrs. Reagan, because yeah,
Okay.
Ms. Serrato's still with
Okay.
the Spanish-speaking families.
Okay, there, we're all together now. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So we can, maybe though, just to make sure, can we repeat that last question in Spanish as well about changing programs?
Si el programa de algún padre que quiera cambiar el programa de aprendizaje a distanciamiento a regresar a clases para su hijo, por favor hágalo no más tardar de mañana, dice el director Carroll, porque tenemos que dar toda esta información al distrito lo antes posible. Entonces, si tienen algún cambio ustedes padres, por favor, háganlo a no más tardar de mañana, por favor.
Another question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
there's another person who, again, is saying that they couldn't hear because when they were in Spanish, they were hearing both languages. And so I don't know if we can, Mr. Carroll, another option, we can record the whole presentation tomorrow in Spanish and send it out. Para los padres que no pudieron escuchar muy bien porque estaban escuchando los dos idiomas, mañana podemos grabar toda esta información en español, así tenemos un video en inglés y un video en español. Pero si hay alguna pregunta específica que quieren, ya que están aquí, les podemos responder.
All right, another question is, do parents have to sign students out or can they just be released? So at 11:10, since we're middle school, once students walk through the gate, they are released. We don't release directly to parents. Students walk out on their own and you can meet your student that way. The only time you would check your student out is if you are checking them out early. So before 11:10, you need to come to the office door and we could check them out. But other than that, once students walk through the gates, they're on their own at that point.
La pregunta fue que si los niños pueden ser levantados de aquí de la escuela. El horario de la salida es a las 11:10, los niños que van a venir en persona a clases. Si usted necesita levantar a su niño antes de la salida, es necesario que venga a la oficina y nos avise por qué razón el niño debe de irse antes de la hora de la salida. Una vez que los niños salen a las 11:10, los padres son responsables de decidir si los niños pueden caminar por sí mismos con su permiso de los adultos de los padres a la casa o si ustedes van a venir por los niños o alguna persona adulta asignada. Una vez que los niños salen, los padres son responsables básicamente de sus hijos a las 11:10.
We have another question about why there are no buses or the buses are very limited. It's a district-wide decision. Part of the reason is because of the requirements, the social distance. The buses hold very few students at this time. Normally we'd put 60, 70 students on a bus and it's very, very limited right now. So unfortunately, that's why the only buses that are provided are the ones that are legally required as part of a student's IEP. So at this time, and we do understand if that impacts your student from being a distance or an in-person learner, you can call and change that. Hopefully, though, you're able to stick with that plan, but we do understand if you need to change because of the transportation issue.
La pregunta era sobre la razón de por qué no se aprobó el transporte de autobuses a algunos estudiantes. La razón es porque tenemos que tener en mente de que tenemos que tener en cuenta aún el distanciamiento entre niños y los estudiantes que subirían al autobús. Ahorita es la razón por qué el distrito escolar no ha aprobado el autobús para todos los niños. Solamente ahorita se ha aprobado para los estudiantes de educación especial. Y si usted tiene algún estudiante por parte de un plan de educación especial llamado Plan Individual de Educación, IEP, es a los únicos estudiantes que les están aprobando el autobús por estos momentos por razones del distanciamiento de la pandemia. Si ustedes tienen alguna pregunta adicional, pueden llamarnos mañana y podemos ver si podemos ayudarlos.
An important question that came up, Mr. Carroll, that it was in Spanish, had to do with PE. Again, students will be doing PE. They will not be dressing out, but the days that the students do have PE, we encourage them to come with comfortable clothing and tennis shoes, because they will again be engaging in physical activities with their PE teachers. So very good question, and hopefully we can also clarify that to our Spanish-speaking families.
Una de las preguntas, dice el señor Magaña, es que los niños que están asignados a venir a clases en persona a la escuela no se van a poner ropa para hacer educación física, ejercicio, pero sí se les aconseja que por favor el día que vayan a tener su clase de educación física traigan ropa cómoda, porque aquí no se van a vestir con su ropa de educación física. Ellos van a traer su propia ropa de la casa. Aquí no se vestirán con su ropa de educación física.
There was another question in Spanish about why did we choose the exact time for all of the schools? And a parent was saying that it's difficult if they have to drop off students at different sites. And so we understand that that can be a challenge, but the thinking with that was that this way you didn't have, typically I think our school, the older students were starting later, and one of the conversations throughout the district was that older students often were, in charge of kind of helping with the younger siblings. So we were trying, I think, to make it easier for families so that you didn't have some students at home alone without older supervision.
Una de las áreas que nos hicieron una pregunta a algunos de los padres fue que ¿por qué los horarios de las escuelas se asignaron para los estudiantes a los mismos horarios? Dice la vicedirectora, la señora Reagan, que una área donde quisieron poner en plan era que con el entendimiento que a veces hay hermanitos que son mayores y son los que ayudan a llevar a veces a sus hermanos más menores a clases. Y este era el entendimiento que era lo que queríamos apoyar a las familias de esa manera, y también para estar seguros de que los niños que están más grandes quizás puedan tener un poquito más de comodidad de venir a clases un poquito más tarde. En esa manera fue como hicieron esa decisión para apoyar a ustedes, a los padres.
We've also had the question come up in Spanish a couple of times of whether parents need to notify the office if their students will be walking home after school. And you don't need to notify us as long as you've given them permission to walk home. That's okay.
Una de las preguntas que a varios padres nos hicieron esta noche fue que si ustedes los padres tienen que avisar a la oficina si su hijo o hija va a caminar después de la escuela, de la salida de las 11:10, y la respuesta es no. Con que ustedes nos den permiso de que su hijo va a salir o que nos avisen es suficiente. No es necesario llamar a la escuela. Me imagino que solamente avisándole a la maestra de la hora de la salida es suficiente. I imagine that the last class period teacher that is dismissing the child would be sufficient for parents to notify. Would that be okay?
And they don't even need to do that. It's a little bit different than elementary. In elementary, that's typically the case because the students are younger. And I know I had that culture shock too my first year at Lopez Academy. I was surprised that everybody was just leaving. But in middle school, even under a regular year, we don't need to be notified if they're walking home.
Ok, so la respuesta de la señora Reagan es que típicamente para los estudiantes de la escuela elemental, sí tenemos esa tradición de avisarle a la última maestra de la clase que su niño o niña va a irse caminando a casa. Para la edad de nuestros estudiantes no es necesario hacer eso, es ya decisión de los padres que ustedes se sientan cómodos que sus niños se van a ir caminando después de clases y no es necesario avisarle a la maestra del último periodo o de la clase última antes de la salida.
And I did notice there was a question a little bit earlier in the, I think the Q&A, asking about if you parents will be getting a notification about whether their child is blended or in person. Starting tonight, I believe, Ms. Reagan, you're going to get phone calls 2 or 3 times saying your child is a blended learner or your child is a distance learner. So if you get the message and it's not what you want or it's not what you expected, please call our office and we can get that straightened out for you. But we are going to have, I think, the next 3 nights in a row, phone calls going home just to make sure our parents know which one they are.
Una de las preguntas, I'm sorry, did you want to say, add something, Ms. Reagan?
I was just going to say, I think I set him up for 5:30 tonight, tomorrow night at 5:30, and Sunday night at 5:30.
And if you're not sure, you can also email us or call us. We'll be happy to answer.
And it's in both languages, English and Spanish.
Una de las preguntas que varios padres nos hicieron es, aún no me han notificado a mí como padre si mi niño ya fue aceptado para la clase de regreso a clases, blended programa mixto en persona, o si mi niño se va a quedar en casa a aprendizaje de distanciamiento. La respuesta es que la señora Reagan ya va a mandar anuncios empezando hoy a las 5:30, mañana a las 5:30 y el domingo a las 5:30 para avisarles a todos los padres 3 veces los anuncios de cuál programa su hijo o hija fue aceptado, ya sea para el de regreso a clases en persona o el programa de distanciamiento aprendizaje en casa. Si a usted le llegan esos anuncios, si no es el programa que usted quiere o que quería, por favor llámenos para poderle ayudar y hacer una corrección lo antes posible.
I do want to add that while we're at this point, we're allowing parents to change. Once we start with our school, parents will probably be allowed to change one time from distance to in-person or in-person, but parents will not be able to go back and forth. The other thing to know, actually, I'll let you translate that and I'll tell the next thing.
El director, el señor Carroll, les quiere recordar a los padres que desafortunadamente solamente les van a dar una oportunidad para hacer un solo cambio. Si ustedes quieren hacer un solo cambio, es preferible que lo hagamos o ustedes los padres lo hagan antes de que comiencen las clases sus hijos, para estar seguros de que ya sea que escojan un programa o el otro, pero solamente se les va a dar la opción de hacer un cambio una vez.
That question did come through again. So you should be, if we have the correct number for you, you should be getting several phone calls over the next couple of days to letting you know what your child is signed up for, either in person, blended or distance learning.
Y el recordatorio es que ustedes van a recibir 3 diferentes llamadas con la misma información de cuál programa fue asignado para su hijo o su hija y para que estén al pendiente. La llamada salió hoy a las 5:30, mañana a las 5:30 y el domingo a las 5:30, para que estén al pendiente, que sí tengamos sus números de teléfonos más recientes aquí en nuestra escuela para que les lleguen esos anuncios a ustedes los padres.
But
The other
if
thing
I
I want
can,
to share, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ms.
I
Reagan.
was going to say, if I can add, if you still are not sure and you don't get the messages for whatever reason, one thing you might want to check your spam on your email, as sometimes our messages go there. As the calls that we send out for these next 3 days was a call, a text, an email, and through an app if you have it. But if you still don't know, please feel free to call our school. Mr. Carroll and I both included our email addresses in the chat. You can also email us directly and we can give you that information.
Sorry, go ahead.
También, thank you. si ustedes aún después del domingo o antes del domingo no les están llegando los mensajes de cuál programa le dieron a su hijo y le aprobaron, por favor, tienen ustedes manera de llamarnos a nuestra escuela de la manera por email. El señor director Carroll y la vicedirectora, la señora Reagan, agregaron sus direcciones del correo electrónico email de ellos. Ustedes pueden mandarle un email, un correo electrónico inmediatamente para avisarles que no recibieron los correos, pero un recordatorio muy importante es que si ustedes pueden revisar sus correos electrónicos, sus emails, por cualquier razón, muchos de nuestros correos que se mandan a los padres de nuestra escuela se quedan estancados en el área de seguridad de los correos electrónicos que se le llama spam, S-P-A-M. Spam, ahí muchas veces se quedan estancados los correos electrónicos. Por favor, revise ahí usted en sus correos para ver si no les están llegando ahí nuestros anuncios de la escuela. Si no les llegan ahí, por favor, mándenos un correo electrónico a los directores, a la señorita Reagan o al señor Carroll.
The other thing I want to share, because some parents have asked us not tonight, but so your child is either in the blended on campus or they are in the distance learning, but they can't go back and forth. So for example, if your student is supposed to be on campus learning, they can't skip school in the morning in person and then attend the Zoom in the afternoon and get credit for attendance for that. That won't work. The attendance is different if you're in person as opposed to if you are distance learning. So we just make sure that's clear to everyone. So if you are an in-person student, the only way that you can get marked present for school is to physically come to school while you're in that program.
Para aclarar, dice el señor Carroll, que los niños que están asignados de aquí en adelante para venir a clases en persona a la escuela, es bien importante que sigan sus horarios como lo son. Si los estudiantes tienen que estar en clase a los 4 días de la semana, ellos es necesariamente que estén aquí en la escuela físicamente en sus clases todos los días, porque es de esa manera como se va a tomar la asistencia de sus hijos. No hay manera de que si, por ejemplo, el niño que regresa a clases en persona quiera venir un día en persona y el día siguiente quiera hacer la clase en casa, no se va a poder. Es de aquí en adelante, todos los niños que van a regresar a clases en persona tienen que venir a clase en persona, porque de esa manera se va a tomar la asistencia.
And if I can add something in Spanish really quickly, I know there's a term for spam in Spanish because some people have their phone completely in Spanish. I just don't remember the term. Para los padres que tienen toda su información en el teléfono en español, sé que hay una palabra más apropiada para spam, lo que le llamamos spam en inglés. Ahorita me fijé en el internet y es correo no deseado, pero creo que su teléfono también lo traduce de otra manera. Correo no deseado, ahí es donde a veces los correos electrónicos que mandamos, por alguna razón, sus teléfonos no lo reconoce y lo manda a ese correo, a ese buzón, así es de que revise su buzón de correos no deseados.
And there's a question in the Q&A that says, will the messages go out in Spanish? And I believe, Ms. Reagan, you said that you programmed it to go out in both English and Spanish. Así que los mensajes que vamos a enviar, que se enviaron hoy, se van a enviar mañana y el domingo para dejarles saber en qué programa su estudiante va a estar. Van a ser en inglés y en español.
And just to clarify, I apologize to all the parents, both English speaking and Spanish speaking, because we made the groups of distance learners and blended learners. There was no way for me to sort, none that I knew of anyways, to sort them. Distance learners Spanish, distance learners English. So it's one message for all distance learners. And in that message, I recorded it in English and in Spanish, and it's the same for the email. And then one message for all the blended learners that will be coming in person, and that message has that information in English and in Spanish.
La señorita Reagan está explicando que ella sí mandó los mensajes, pero quiere disculparse porque no había manera de que ella pudiera hacer los mensajes para ustedes, los padres, solamente en español o solamente en inglés para avisarles qué programa sus hijos fueron aceptados. Ella tuvo que hacer los mensajes en inglés y en español para todos los anuncios de ustedes para los padres. Así que discúlpenla, dice que no pudo hacerlo de otra manera que hacerlo bilingüe a la vez por cada llamada.
Sí, y para clarificar, se hizo un grupo de todos los alumnos que están programados para regresar en persona, que llamamos Blended Learning, aprendizaje combinado. Y en ese mensaje, para todos los que van a regresar en persona, lo hice en inglés y en español con la misma información. Y otro mensaje se les mandó a todos los estudiantes que están programados para continuar en aprendizaje a distancia. Y igual, ese mensaje es en inglés y en español.
All right, and we know you may have questions at a later time. Know that our campus is open from 8 to 4 tomorrow. You can stop by or you can call us 8 to 4 or you can email any of us. We know this is lots of information and it's a big change. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us for any information. We're here for you.
Cualquier pregunta, recuerden padres que nuestra oficina está abierta de 8 a 4 de la tarde, de lunes a viernes. Si tienen preguntas, por favor, pueden venir a la escuela o pueden llamarnos a cualquier horario de 8 a 4 para contestarles sus preguntas. Nosotros sabemos que son muchos cambios y quizás haya preguntas adicionales que ustedes tengan en el futuro. Por favor, si tienen preguntas, llámenos.
I want to close by saying we are, for those of you that have students coming back, we are very excited to see your students. It's been over a year now, so we are thrilled to have students coming back. And if your student is not coming back, that's okay. We'll see them next year, hopefully. But we are all excited about having kids here in just a few days. So thank you. And thank you for attending tonight. We appreciate it.
Y les queremos dejar saber a ustedes los padres que tenemos mucho gusto saber que sus hijos que van a regresar a clases en persona, nos da gusto saber que después de un año vamos a poder tenerlos aquí en nuestra escuela y queremos pues darles, ¿verdad? La bienvenida y dejarles a ustedes saber que gracias por acompañarnos en esta junta y esperamos a sus hijos con mucho gusto.
Gracias.
Gracias por acompañarnos. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Gracias.
Good night.
Oh, I did notice
have the video out by Friday, by tomorrow.
I noticed we do have two people that have raised their hand real quick. So let me turn their sound on and see if they still have a question. Let me find them here. All right. Screen name looks like Herman RC. You should be able to speak now if you have a question. And
Señor Germán, si tiene pregunta, pues ya le dimos acceso de que pueda usar su micrófono y puede prender el micrófono para hacer su pregunta.
all right.
That
That could have been a mistake. So.
Okay. Yeah, because she's muted. Señor Germán, tiene su micrófono apagado. No sé si tenía una pregunta que quisiera hacernos. O quizás a lo mejor fue un error. Parece que su mano estaba levantada para una pregunta.